I call the honourable member Darian Fenton.
Thank you so much, Mr Speaker. I'm pleased to take a call in the first reading of the Land Transport Amendment Bill. And the bill lowers the adults' legal alcohol limits from 400 micrograms of alcohol per litre of breath to 250 micrograms and from 80 milligrams of alcohol per 100 millilitres of blood to 50 milligrams. I'm really pleased that the government has finally taken its lead from the Labor Party, who have been agitating and pushing for this change since 2009, as we heard from our colleague Ian Lees-Galloway. It's a real shame, actually, that they didn't take the chance, because people in 2009, and they did have other chances, which I'll talk about in a moment, but in 2009, and every year since then, 4 years, people have been unnecessarily injured or killed because the government did not have the courage to take this step at the time. And in 2011 or 2010, there was a bill came to the Transport and Industrial Relations Select Committee, following on from the Cabinet consideration of this issue, and that was the Land Transport, Road Safety and Other Matters Amendment Bill. And that was the one that the former Speaker, David Bennett, was talking about, where we introduced zero tolerance for young drivers under 20, introduced interlocks for people with alcohol convictions and so on. But they also had the chance then, Mr Speaker, to deal with this issue. And it was a feature of the submissions on that bill, which were very noticeable, actually. Going back and having a look at the submissions, that was one of the biggest issues. There were, I think, about 6 issues that were highlighted during these submissions on the bill. But one of the biggest issues was from people submitting to the Select Committee is that the government should take the chance to deal with this issue of lowering the blood alcohol content. And we had submissions, apart from a range of individuals and very respectable ones as well, the Drug Foundation, the Cycling Advocates Network, the Alcohol Health Watch, Drink Driving Intervention Trust, National Addiction Centre, the Herald on Sunday. Now, I remember that very clearly, Mr Speaker. They ran a campaign on this, and it started, I believe, with Darren Hughes' Members' Bill, which Ian Lees-Galloway eventually took over. It started with that. They supported that bill, and they ran a campaign to get New Zealanders to pledge to 2 drinks max, and which was a very successful campaign. And that's when we first started to get the feedback from the public that this was something they supported. In fact, it was overwhelming support from the public. And as I say, the Herald on Sunday did a very good job back in 2010, so we're talking 3 years ago. Of course, the Alcohol Advisory Council also recommended lowering the BAC. Rural Women New Zealand, the New Zealand Nurses Organisation, talked about not only the safety issues but the health issues, and also how important it was to try and take the opportunity to minimise harm, injury and death at that time. Now, what happened during that process? Well, the government, despite many strong submissions, the government decided that they needed to have more information. Even though there have been many studies, and at that stage, in 2010, there had been many studies, international studies, but others showing the benefits of lowering the adult blood alcohol content to 0.05, the government kicked for touch by saying there was a lack of New Zealand-specific research in the area. Now, I don't know what spooked them. I don't know what spooked the Minister, Stephen Joyce, as he was then, and the Cabinet when they first discussed this in 2009. I don't know what spooked them in 2010, but it was a cop-out. It was a cop-out. They actually had the opportunity to fix this issue then. And not only that, Mr Speaker, we have had a Members' Bill for many years now on this issue. During the committee stages of the Land Transport Road Safety Amendment Bill, Labor put up an amendment during the committee stages of the bill that would have reduced the blood alcohol limit. So yet another chance for the government to take up this issue, and Labor tried very hard to help the government save face on this one. But guess what happened? In 2010, the government voted against that amendment, and they have consistently refused to support members' bills from members on this side of the House that would have addressed this problem some time ago. And instead, they went into this long-winded process of needing to gather evidence. And even going back before that, as I said, the Minister was actually acknowledging under Safer Journeys in 2009 that the public wanted change. And everybody knew then and they know now that reducing the blood alcohol content makes a difference. I remember Minister Stephen Joyce at the time when he introduced restrictions on cell phone use saying this was a no-brainer. Well, I would have thought this was a no-brainer as well in 2009 and 2010 and 2011 and on, but what we've had instead is a no-brain response until Jerry Brownlee came along and suddenly realised that this was an issue that was going to get some traction by Labor because a members' bill had been drawn. In fact, I remember very clearly that the Minister of Transport then, Stephen Joyce, tried it out for himself. He decided that he'd go and he was a transport spokesperson, and he drank 3/4 of a bottle of wine and found he was still legally able to drive. And he said that's crazy. And it is crazy. We all know that. We saw anyone who watched, I think it was a TV3 program recently, was it Campbell Live, where they drank, if you were a larger guy, drank 12 bottles of beer, huge amounts of alcohol. It is crazy. But Stephen Joyce said in 2010 it was crazy, but what happened in between time when he drank that, what's that? Well, it would be good to know that, but he knew he was incompetent to drive, and he said that legal alcohol limits for drivers were just ridiculous. So here we have had a crazy, just ridiculous situation carry on for 4 years. Now, the current blood alcohol limit that we have for adult drivers was set in 1978, so it was very clear as society changed its views on drunk driving, and it became less acceptable for people to get in the car when they'd had a few. And just in the same way, many, many years ago, when we introduced seat belts, that was a bit of an outrage at the time, but it's completely acceptable now, and people are moving on to other safety measures as well, such as having restraints for older children now in cars. So society does move on. But since then, since 1978, and particularly since 2009, there's been so much research that has consistently demonstrated the benefits associated with lowering the BAC limits in saving lives and preventing serious injuries. We also know that many other countries have already done this. In Australia and New South Wales, they achieved an 8% reduction in fatal crashes and a 7% reduction in serious injury crashes. Queensland achieved an 18% reduction in fatal crashes and a 14% reduction in serious crashes. And on it goes. Belgium and France, the statistics are there. So New Zealand's no different. We knew this was the case 4 years ago. Why did we need 3 years of research to tell us what everybody knows, that this is sensible, it's a sensible measure, we've had the evidence, and I'm really happy that the government has finally accepted the obvious, and I look forward very much, as a member of the Transport and Industrial Relations Select Committee, to debating this bill.
I call the honourable member Kevin Hay.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's a pleasure to take a call on this bill, one that certainly the Green Party will be supporting.